I don't know about you, but I'm not a big fan of driving at night because, I'm always have the fear of something happening to the car, breaking down, flat tire, things of that nature, and nothing's open. Well, my wife doesn't share those same concerns. About 6 years ago, she had to be in Shreveport. I told her, I said, just make sure when you leave Shreveport, you leave when it's daylight so you can get back to Lafayette early enough so you're not driving at night. Well, if anybody who knows my wife really well knows that when she says she's leaving, it usually means you can add another 2 hours to it. So I called her up that afternoon. She said, oh yeah, so we're about to leave. Well, that wasn't the case. So long story short, she left, but she left, it was night. So Shreveport to Lafayette's about 3 hours or so. If you've ever driven that path, there's really nothing out there. Well, and at that time, we just had Daisy, and there's really nothing scarier than having a newborn and that newborn crying and you can't do anything about it. Well, Erica, she gets about an hour outside of Lafayette and calls me. Of course, my worst fear came true. She says, something's wrong with the car. She heard some rattling. I said, what's around you? Of course, nothing was around her other than pasture and just the interstate. Well, I told her, I said, make sure if you can't drive the car, make sure you pull off as far off the shoulder as possible. And whatever you do, put your flashers lights on and do not sit in the car because, there's been many accidents every year where people are standing outside their car or sitting in the car and they're struck by another vehicle. Typically, you shouldn't call 911 when it's not truly an emergency, but I felt like in this situation, she's alone, there's nothing around her, it's dark, that she should call 911. I said, you know what, when you're calling, make sure that you get the officer's name, badge number, and which police agency he or she is coming from. Because it's really important because these days people try to impersonate officers or they see someone stranded on the side of the roadway and that's an opportunity. So the real funny story about it is that, Erica, I told her to get off the roadway and in this particular area, there's nothing around, like I said earlier, and there's just pasture. So she got out of the car and walked in this pasture. Well, what happened was she got red bugs all over her legs and she was itching the next day. And it was quite funny because the pain that I was going through, Daisy was crying and there's nothing I could do for her. And while she was crying the whole time for an hour. So if you first-time dads, you know exactly what I'm talking about. She put me through that, so she had to go through the misery of the attack of the red bugs and scratching for the next probably 2 weeks after that. So in summary, if your vehicle, you're in a situation where it's stranded, it breaks down, the first thing is you want to get off on the nearest exit. But if you can't make it, make sure you get as far off of the shoulder as possible. Put your flashers on and make sure you don't sit in the car. You or any of your passengers. You may get red bugs, but it sure beats the heck out of the alternative. Call for help, and whoever's coming to help you, make sure you get that person's contact information before they come so you can vet that person so it is who they say it is coming to help you. I'm Blaze Inzina with Murphy's Law Undone. Just remember, just because it can go wrong doesn't mean it has to.